I mean, how do you deal with that? Because Eden is today like one of one in terms of restaurants in Syracuse.
Sadly.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of people I still think that are like trying to do really cool things, and like Noble Cellar, for instance.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, people are loving them right now.
Yeah.
They had a little semi-rocky start because once they started, they lost their head chef.
Yeah,
like, right away, you know. But they seem to have a lot of really great people in their kitchen, and they're doing like awesome things. I've been there a few times.
Yeah.
And it seems like every time I go, things are a little more refined and a little better.
That's cool.
And I think it really sucks that like we lost the full Amano.
Yeah, I know.
Thing.
Right.
But
you have to go in there and you have to stick to the wood fire. I mean, the food's good, but you know, it's not what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Obviously there's a little bit of ego that goes like into like feeling like you're a well-positioned restaurant like in the area. I am obviously, because I'm so self-critical and critical of the things that we do on a regular basis, that criticism spills over into other places. Ultimately, there is just love and respect for those people, because trying to do anything is extremely difficult in life, and finding any level of success in what you're trying to like pursue takes a lot of effort and energy and investment and passion. And ultimately, I respect that in anyone, from the lowest of low, some random corner shop slinging sandwiches, to like us. Yeah. And I kind of get, the thing I'd say I'd probably criticize the most in this area is the attachment to like Instagram, like shit. Yeah. Like people really like what things look like. So, and they may never have even experienced it, but they celebrate it because they're like, wow, that looks really good and whatever. Yeah. Rich has a really awesome term for it called pretty average, like pretty average food, where it's like, it looks really good, but it like, you know, so I'm, you know, in the shadows, I'm constantly quietly criticizing them, you know? But for the most part, I try to really enjoy everything. Like there's a few places that I really like love. And even if they're like, you know, they're not like a Michelin star restaurant, they're still like incredible, and they have a lot of really great, passionate people working for them, like a pizza. I love them. I got the opportunity to finally sit bar side, like where they make the pizzas, and I talked to the guy firing the pizza, Tony, I think his name was, this older gentleman, and it was a great experience. And you know, I've been critical of even them sometimes in the past, but I don't know. Yeah, I know. It's I haven't been to Noble Cellar yet. I think I definitely was really critical of them when they first opened. Yeah, you can move that around if you want. Yeah. Just because I heard somebody say that they were like, oh, it's going to be the new, why am I blanking on the name? St. Urban. They're like, oh, it's going to be the new St. Urban. And I was like, I don't know about that. And so I was really critical of them, not even like never eating or seeing the menu. It was just like, that's not going to be the case. It's not even the same model even. Like they did, you know, St. Urban tried to do a tasting experience, pairings and everything. You know, they're doing the standard like us, you know, X amount of small plates, X amount of large plates. They have soups and salads. We don't. But like St. Urban is a whole nother type of dining that just doesn't really exist in this area like that much, which sucks because it's really cool. But like the reality of those things is a ton of man hours because you have one person working on one dish, and how many dishes are you running for the night? Like that labor is insane. Yeah, absolutely insane. It'd be cool if we had something like that again, but then like even I don't know if we could, because the amount of energy and effort that has to go into something like that isn't the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. And it's not even to say like people in this area don't want it. It's like you do that for a certain level of recognition and acknowledgement, and only certain city centers across the country are even being looked at like for those things. Like Michelin star, like how many cities in America do they actually follow? Yeah. And if you're going to put that much energy into something, like they're looking for accolades and things like that. So if you want to execute that in the local scene, like you got to be really passionate and you got to say goodbye to your family. Basically, because you're going to be doing 80 hours a week. And like we've tried tasting menus occasionally. It's really fun. Like but it's also chaotic because we don't have the systems baked into like how we operate. So we just try to jam it in.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Rich is now in the middle of the line while we're trying to expo regular service, and like we're running a tasting menu at the bar. And it's something we'd like to do a little bit more in the future, but it's not something we can regularly do.
Yeah.
Like the biggest struggle I've so far experienced within this industry is like there's all these things that you want to do, but you might not have the capacity. The objective reality is you might not have the capacity or the actual physical means to like do something. Yeah. I'd love for us to do pizza. I love pizza.
Yeah.
I've loved exploring pizza, but like I can make 1 to 2 like at a time, maybe, and like so I can make it for the staff. Full stop. If we did it in service, it'd be hell.
Yeah.
Because we use our pizza oven for our steaks because our steaks are so big.
Right. Yeah.
So the reality of like doing that, and so many people ask, do you guys have pizza? You know, wood fire place. You hear that? Boom, pizza. And it's like, no, sorry, we can't because it's just not even practical.
Yeah.
We'd lose our mind.
That's interesting that so many people ask for pizza in the place. Like, I mean, I would never walk into Eden and expect to see pizza.
Well, you see the pizza oven maybe, and
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, it's funny. You know, I've said it a few other times, but it's funny how many people I mention. I'm like, yeah, Eden is a wood-fired restaurant, and they're like, oh, okay, great.
What's that mean?
What does that mean? And you know, I love the story of like I did the food tour and I got to take that group that was like, they're like, so what's the best restaurant in Syracuse? It's like, it's Eden. It's a wood-fired restaurant. And they're like, oh, it's like they have to build a fire to cook their food every night.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh. And I was like, I text Rich. I was like, I've got 4 people I'm going to bring over real quick. I'm just going to show them. I was going to open up the door and show them the kitchen. He was like, okay.
You would have to find us.
Yeah.
People can stand right outside of our restaurant and have no clue that we're there. I always joke that we had a blind couple dine with us last year, and they found us easier than most people find a restaurant.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah. Yeah, it's. I mean, the restaurant scene. I was thinking about it a bit ago. Like at one point in time prior to COVID, we had Deefy was open, a Pizza Regionale, a Mono, Eden, and St. Urban all existed in downtown Syracuse at the same time.
Yep.
Like how fortunate we were to have all of those restaurants open and existing at the same time. And then even Kasai. I mean, you know, Kasai wasn't on that level, but it was good. It was great ramen. And so we had that as an option, you know, at least as like a, you know, diverse culinary option to go explore. And looking at the food scene, especially in downtown Syracuse right now, it's like there's still, don't get me wrong, there's still great restaurants that are open, Kitty Hoynes and, you know, Possibilities and obviously Eden and obviously Abioko is still there and all that kind of stuff. But it's nowhere near what it was just before COVID.
It's possible. Yeah, I agree right now. But I also kind of feel like I see a bright future like there as well. Like there's just a really open market right now and people love to make money. Yeah. So, you know, someone's going to try to fill it. And we have you see the Peruvian place that was...
Yeah.
I don't know like anything much about it. I just see the construction.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This area is set to expand in a big way. A lot of tech jobs are coming in. A lot of tech startups, Microsoft investing. CEO Center State, I feel like does a pretty decent job of promoting the tech scene here. And, you know, all the gentrification that's going on to push people out for all the expensive apartments that they want to place in.
Yeah.
It just screams that we need an expansion in the nightlife, downtown life. Like, I mean, I've lived here 9 years now. Worked downtown on the weekends, and man, downtown sucks on the weekends. Everything's closed. Sure. Trying to find lunch like on the weekends was horrible. And typically, you know, when something exists like that, I mean, all that it really is illustrating is a demand for something. Yeah. And if someone fills it. Yeah, for sure. And just finding that capital to fill that demand. I know. You know? And it is interesting. Like, I love how I started this with saying I'm too critical, and now I'm just being incredibly critical so far. But it's because you care. Yeah. The bigger restaurants are closing right now. I mean, La La Lu is for sale. I mean, even internationally, a lot of the bigger Michelin restaurants and everything, they're just not finding it. Yeah. They're all turning into their test kitchens and just trying to pump out cookbooks and. That's interesting. Yeah. really sucks. I mean, it goes back to the, like, how many people does it take to execute this dish?
Right.
And, you know, who's buying it?
Yeah. So, like in Syracuse, that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that was happening. I mean, I knew that there were like some of the bigger places that were shutting down. But yeah, I mean, in Syracuse, La La Lu is for sale. Not that they were like at the precipice of, you know, culinary adventure in Syracuse, but for their space and entertainment value is definitely there. I mean,
like people really enjoyed the experience.
People really enjoyed the experience, and kudos to Danielle for really. You know, I mean, I think a lot of people in our industry have heard the stories of it, but behind the scenes stuff. But kudos to her for having the balls to like go out there and create that restaurant in Syracuse, because Syracuse is not that scene, and it's like it's different. I don't know, it's just different. So I mean, phenomenal job on the execution. I went in there for their soft opening night one, and we weren't really impressed. I wasn't really impressed with the food, but I walked in, I was like, this is Las Vegas. If this was in Las Vegas, it would be a multi-million-dollar restaurant. In Syracuse, it's going to struggle because we have such a different scene. And they weren't trying to cater, and they still aren't because they're still open. They aren't trying to cater to the same crowd that Eden is, or Noble Cellar, or Abiyoko. You know, they're trying to cater to like, you know, a little bit wealthier Rise and Shine client, I think, or the Rise and Shine client, but for dinner.
I was going to say it is the dinner Rise and Shine.
Right. But the entertainment value, which is a big aspect of food, was definitely there for it. And yeah, it's just we have a really different scene in Syracuse than was going to go there all the time. So yeah, I don't know. It's but Rise and Shine is, or I should say, Loaded, or Jesus, I just named all of our other restaurants. I felt like a parent naming all my different kids. They're not my restaurants. La La Lu is actively listed for sale. A lot of the bigger restaurants I know that I shouldn't say a lot of them. There's a few bigger restaurants that I know that I've spoken to the owners, and they're like, man, what's going on? Things are really bad right now. I've never heard a restaurant owner. I've heard restaurant owners tell me it's bad before. I've never heard the ones that are telling me now, man, what's going on out there? Things are bad. I've never heard them say that before.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, you have people like there's a Smash Burger pop-up. They call themselves a ghost kitchen, but they're not. Pop-up that just opened up down here at Mother's Cupboard Friday and Saturday nights from like 6 p.m. until midnight.
Yeah.
They do smash burgers, pierogies, and mac and cheese.
Out of Mother's Cupboard.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Only pickup or delivery.
Yeah.
Only like third party or their website. And so there's them. There's the guys that On the Fly, you know, two guys that were like in the industry, you know, chefs at restaurants, opened up in Lindcourt, shitty old building, you know, like not, in other words, it's not like $1 million, you know, open.
Yeah.
And they're doing cool stuff. Limited menu, really just pick up delivery right now.
It's so hard to keep up with. I mean, like I'm in it, and I don't know half the time when things are opening.
What's going on?
Yeah, what's going on?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think honestly, the people in it too have the hardest time keeping up with it because they're in it.
Right.
It's like we're just trying to keep this restaurant alive. And
Yeah.
you're working day to day, and then randomly, like the only reason I knew about the Peruvian place is because it's like on my walk to get a Red Bull.
Yeah, right.
You know, like
yeah. I don't have high hopes for that Peruvian place, only because I know it's Alex from Margaritas that's open. That's like the owner of it.
Yeah.
And I mean, Margaritas has like one of the dirtiest records. You know,
Sure.
I always joke that they hold the record for the most critical health violations of any restaurant in Onondaga County history. Yeah. Allegedly, they hold that record. And
COVID was not great for them. That's
yeah. And so I went in there one time for lunch with a friend, and you know, Alex came out and he was like, "Hey, how are the tacos?" And my friend was like, "Oh, these are the best tacos I've ever had." And Alex was like, "Yeah, our food's not that good. It's really, we just make money off drinks and our nightlife."
Alcohol.
You know, it's the nightlife there for sure. They've got that on lock.
Yeah.
You know, where else are you going in downtown Syracuse at midnight or 2 a.m?
Yeah, nowhere.
And you probably don't want to go anywhere else at midnight or 2 a.m.
Where are you going to Syracuse? Anytime that's not between 5 and 9.
Right.
Like,
yeah. I mean, it's, you know, the late night scene around here just doesn't exist.
Non-existent.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really sad.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Micron and like these other companies that are coming in, how that affects the food scene. I mean, I think obviously, if more money gets pumped into the area.
I'm excited for what Bob's other project at the old La Melange place.
Yeah.
They're doing whole animal butchery and everything like that.
Yeah.
That sounds really exciting.
I heard that. When I stopped in last week, he mentioned that. That does sound really exciting.
I think Jeff Deloff is also. He was at St. Urban. He's going to be with him, or
does he have a big beard?
He does the pierogies for
so that's
Nobody's. Yeah. Okay.
I met him on Friday when I stopped. I met Bob for the first time on Friday.
Oh, cool.
And then Jeff was sitting there.
Yeah.
And I got to meet him and chat just for a quick second.
I'm really excited for that spot in particular has captured my eye since they were building it for La Melange and for someone who really wants like a French bistro style restaurant themselves. Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting to see what it's like in there and how they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's I have this really big love-hate relationship with the Syracuse food scene,
Yeah. Yeah.
I do love a lot of aspects of it. I just wish that it was a lot better. And like you said earlier, the respect I have, the admiration I have, there was a point early on in Eat Local where I was like, if you're a restaurant owner, you're on a pedestal in my head. Holy shit. And then in my head, I was like, you own a business. You must know so much more than the average person. And then over those first 5-6 years, I realized, oh, that's not the case. A lot of these people that own restaurants are just idiots. I mean, whatever. But
I'm an idiot.
But they don't just and so am I. But they just they open up a restaurant and that was it. And that was the extent of their knowledge is I know how to cook the X, and so I'm going to open a restaurant. And there was no other, where for 5 years I thought this person must know everything about finance and location and marketing and food and management. And then I realized, no, they know one thing. They know about this specific thing, and that's it.
Learning all the rest as they go.
Now, 8 years into owning my own business, I realized the respect is coming back for them because I'm like, dude, you took such a massive risk, these people, even if they only know about how to cook.
Yeah.
Or maybe they don't even know how to cook, but they know how to market or they know how to pick, whatever the case is. They took such a huge risk to open the restaurant. That's where the respect I have for them is.
You've got to kind of be an idiot to open a restaurant.
You really do.
Because
you really do.
It's so much, all the things you mentioned that, you perceived them to be experts of,
yeah.
You're going to throw that much capital at something and not know everything that you have to do. And you can't know that. You only learn from experience, from failure, etc. And you just hope you don't fail too much.
Yeah.
Along the way.
Yeah.
Right.
So you moved here, 9 years ago?
Let's see. My son is now 10 and he was about 6 to 8 months when we moved here away from all of our family.
Yeah.
So about 10 years.
Where'd you move from?
Ohio, Northeast Ohio.
Okay.
Bustling culinary scene. No, it's the worst. It's the middle of, I call it the suburban of the USA. It's everything is just dead average.
What, Toledo?
Akron.
Okay.
Akron, yeah.
I grew up in Cincinnati.
Nice.
Yeah.
We had our son, job opportunity came up here, moved up here for that. That lasted about 5 to 6 years. Vicariously watched my children grow up through a cell phone as I bled myself into that job. And then they had to release about a quarter of the company a couple of months right before COVID hit. So it was actually a blessing.
Yeah.
I hate to always say this, but a lot of people suffered from COVID, but that year, 2020, was the best year of my life. So I rode this nice severance package right into unemployment. I hadn't seen my children growing up this whole time.
Yeah.
Got to spend an entire year at home with them. Really reinvigorated my love and passion for cooking.
Yeah.
Because what else was I going to do? Started making little cooking videos and stuff and releasing it because cool. Everyone's at home. It's here's check this out. And then following that, as everything was coming out of the COVID stuff, so it was starting to normalize. I mentioned Mark's my neighbor.
Yeah.
At the time, he was working with Rich.
Okay.
And they were running their grocery program out of Eden, and they were also still doing farm dinners.
Yeah.
And they just needed help moving some mulch for the dining area. Asked me to do it if I could help. I was looking for anything to do at the time just to stay active. Yeah. And I was like, hell yeah. Helped them out. while I was doing that, Rich apparently needed some help that night and asked me if I wanted to help out cooking or whatever. And then that went fine. And then he jokingly asked if I wanted a job afterwards. And I happened to not be working at the time and was kind of like cooking has always been a like lifelong passion, but never classically trained. Like I know all of classically trained things just because when I'm passionate about something, I deep dive stuff like crazy in an unhealthy way.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if I could cut it in a professional restaurant. Little did I know what I was getting into.
So your first gig was Eden?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, spent a year with just him and I on the line doing 40, 50 covers a night. And it was just us and we had a server and basically a back waiter.
Wow.
And so dishes, everything, the whole gamut, moving the wood, the reality of a wood fire kitchen. It was just us for a year. And then after that, I stepped out so my wife could launch a photography business of her own. Yeah. And gave me an opportunity to be at home with my kids again, which was awesome, which was something I was trying to catch up on. Yeah. And would cover from him from time to time. If he needed to take a vacation, maybe go visit his lady in New York City or something. About a year and a half ago, he had a window open up where he needed a sous chef and gave me a call and asked me if I wanted to come back.
Wow.
Decided to, and it's been a really cool ride so far.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Huh. That's crazy that your first gig in a kitchen is fucking Eden.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's extra crazy because even if you're an amazing cook, you could be the best cook in the world. Coming into our environment, it resets you. Like, it's a whole new experience cooking in the hearth and everything, and just relearn. Like, everything you thought you knew, you have to relearn. As far as just managing heat, finding heat, and various things. And like the most experienced people can come in and they look like idiots. Like, you can just look like a fool. And I felt that way too. Like, I wanted to come in and I wanted to be like, I know all this shit. I want to impress Rich, this guy that I've heard so much about and whatever, and just shit down my leg. About a year straight. Pissed him off because I was so slow.
That's
Still
funny.
am.
Yeah.
Like, that's probably my biggest problem, my speed. Like, I am a self-critical perfectionist by nature, and because I kind of joke sometimes I like to measure 6 times and cut once, and Rich likes to cut and then remeasure afterwards because he's really good, really awesome at just getting shit done. Yeah, I mean, like, he built a restaurant, right? Like, I know, literally, like, built a restaurant. Yeah, so incredible, and things like that. And I am someone that's like hyper concerned with the final product, what it looks like. Is it perfect? Was there a smudge on this 1% of the plate or whatever? Is that aligned properly? Do these look good? Is that how a meringue is supposed to do? Is the crystallization like over and over and over? I hyper fixate on like the smallest details. And I think we have a really great environment and had a really great chemistry from the beginning because we complemented each other's, like, I don't want to say weaknesses because we don't really have weaknesses. Like, they're all adaptations that, have helped us survive in our environments. But like, we definitely complement each other really well in that regard. Where like, I'm really hyper focused and critical on like refinement, and he's really hyper focused on executing. And like making sure that everything is ready, everything is good, everything is in line.
That's pretty interesting.
It's like, it's kind of guided how we approach service, prep, and everything. Like, I've really grown a fondness for like pastry, stuff like that, which takes a little more exact, like nature and everything. And it's been a crazy journey.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, I just can't get over it. You being your first gig as at Eden reminds me of Sarah who owns Firecracker Thai Kitchen in the market. Her first gig was working in the Lemongrass and Bistro Elephant kitchen next to Eamon Lee and Jared. I mean, it's just crazy to think that like.
Jared was over there as well?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was Eamon and Jared. I forget which side they were on. I think that they were on Lemongrass and she was on Bistro, or maybe it was the opposite. But the two restaurants shared the kitchen space and to a degree. And she worked alongside those two, which is just
that's crazy,
insane.
Yeah.
That your first gig is working along, even if it was 20 or 30 years ago, still to stand next to those two guys.
I think it's good though. Like, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you don't know that that's maybe a higher level, and then you just adapt to the circumstances, and then now you're just awesome.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, really what is, if you're going to end up in that sort of a cuisine, really, where do you want to start off? Do you want to start off on the line making cheeseburgers and, just kind of always have a desire to make something nicer, or, you just kind of get your feet, get thrown into the fire?
Yeah, I think you can make anything nice though, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But like, maybe it's nice to have someone around you to maybe define what nice is, because you could, people that come from maybe different socioeconomic backgrounds, et cetera, maybe they think one thing is nice and the other person thinks it's trash.
Yeah.
And, that's the same can be said if you're came up in an Applebee's.
Yeah.
You're going by the SOP, you're like, oh, I executed this Applebee's burger really nice.
Yeah.
But it's like, sure. There's no Maillard on it or whatever. It looks like it's boiled or whatever, but it was like plated nicely and stuff. But, and then you get in an environment where it's like, well, creating this crust on this burger, cooking at this heat is really important for the whole tactile experience, taste, sugars, etc.
Yeah.
Someone that maybe knows a little more and can deep dive it and explain to you why something is good. Yeah. And what makes it good or bad. Mm-hmm. It's good to be around that and have that wealth of knowledge.
I remember with 3-1 Fried, we had Limp Lizard in North Syracuse had this kid that was running the restaurant up there, and he was like the main line cook and manager and all that. And Kevin, and for only person I've ever seen that skate, like he literally skates across the grease on the line when he's busy. I mean, you would see him. I mean, it's probably 20 yards from the end of the line to the walk-in, and you would just see him on a busy Friday or Saturday night just come sliding through just into the walk-in to grab something, and then leave the door open, I'll be right back, and you see him slide back through. And I remember we used to do a thing for the first few months. Every week we would change up and do a different special sandwich, and the staff could come up with an idea, and then they got $1 for every one we sold that week.
Oh wow!
So he came up with like a chicken Caesar sandwich, right? And his version of it was our fried chicken with romaine lettuce, Caesar dressing from Ken's, and then like sprinkled Parmesan cheese on top. And it was still good.
Yeah.
And then like a year later, 6 months later, he had left, and Limp hired this other guy, Ray, who was a 30-year line cook vet, raging alcoholic, like the poster child for
the industry.
Yeah. And so same thing, like we did the same thing. Hey, come up with a special, you get $1. He was like, I'm thinking this chicken Caesar sandwich. I was like, all right, we already did it, but what's your take? And he like roasted his own red peppers and made his own Caesar dressing with anchovies and made his own herb cheese to go on it. And, really like put the screws to it. And it was like, okay, you're doing this in a whole different level.
Yeah. Anything can be bouged up.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It's just knowing like what that limit is, how far something can be pushed.
Yeah.
Usually it comes down to you're working on each individual element. Mm-hmm. Like everything gets a detail, even your breading, like, it gets a detail.
Yeah.
Your chicken, you're brining it, whatever.
All those little details go into it.
You made your bread.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah, I remember when I just got done reading The Third Plate and from Dan Barber, and in that he was talking a lot about Klaus Martens out in Penyan and farming. And like a month later, I was at a dinner at 11 Waters when Cody Dedishu was there, and Cody was like, "This is," he brought out like the bread course, and he said, "This is bread that I made in house using grains that I sourced from Klaus Martin's farm, whatever it was called, and Penyan, and I milled the flour myself, and made the butter." And I was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe that who someone in Syracuse knows who this farmer is." So there is a challenge in like understanding that a food scene needs to have everything, right?
Yeah.
Like, the greasy, probably going to make you sick burger joint, taco joint, whatever that's open late is equally as important to the food scene as, the fine dining, white tablecloth.
One of the worst things that I experience on a regular basis as a product of being a part of a really excellent restaurant is the presumption that I am hypercritical of like things that are maybe lowbrow, etc. And I just, oh my God, people are making food in front of me or whatever. They're like, oh, it wouldn't be as good as Derek. So, I'm like, shut up, stop. Like, I love everything, the full scale. Yeah. I love Hormel's, like corned beef hash, just right out of the can, fried out of the pan, up to like locally sourced brisket, taken care of really well with the best potatoes fresh out of the ground, like I like the whole scale.
That's pretty funny.
Engineered food is good for a reason. It sells for a reason. People buy it for a reason. McDonald's is successful for a reason. So shit hits.
Right. Sure.
It gives your brain what it wants, the sugars, the salt, everything. And I think there's room for all of it. There has to be. In the same way that there's we need conventional farming. Like we can't have this like all these organic, locally sourced everything. There's there's too many people in the world.
Yeah, without a doubt.
So
I wonder what that solution is. I mean, and I will say, if Keith Redhead from Woodland Farm Brewing was sitting here, he would say the solution is kill a bunch of people. But that's not the solution, Keith. So don't stop saying that publicly.
Didn't they make a movie about that? Marvel did, I think.
Yeah. Actually, it's funny. I just got done watching Fallout, the series on Amazon, which is so fucking good. Oh my God, that was so good.
Really good.
I'm like, I need to go re-download the game and play it again.
I was gonna say I never played the game myself, but I was really interested in the series happening, and I thought they did an excellent job.
Yeah, same here. I thought it was a great show. I just finished the last episode this morning, so so I can't wait for the next one. But speaking of the population being wiped off the face of the planet, I don't know what the future of our food scene really is. I mean, in here, me personally, like, I started this, so like Eat Local New York, I'm going to disband the Eat Local card at the end of this year and never do it again.
We won't deep dive that.
Yeah. Well, just realizing like, I've come under a lot of shit over the last month for things I've said and not said about restaurants. And so, and I think, and then also just like the Instagram account getting bigger and having videos that hit like over 100,000 people. The amount of hateful comments that come on social media sucks. So I'm to a point where I'm like, hey, I want to limit my exposure here. And having 150 restaurants that I don't do a good job of like maintaining the relationship with all of them that are on the card to really make it work. I'm just like, I just don't want to do it anymore. And then I really, not that I ever bash a restaurant or that I would go out and start bashing restaurants online, but on my Instagram account, I just don't want to have to worry about what I say because I might piss off somebody that I want to join. I want them to join the card. So having said that, I'm going to get rid of the card this year and just focus on like the social stuff, like the influencer stuff and just the account. Because I'm starting to get, now that I'm going to the fancy food show next week. A company's hiring me to go down there and make a podcast with 4 of their clients. I'm like, holy shit.
Very awesome.
So I started a different Instagram account called Thirsty Neighbor that's just focused on alcohol.
Yeah.
And so beer, wine, spirits, cider, and not just local, but it will talk mostly about local stuff in New York, but also just kind of keep it open because I want to make money.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I've got to, so having said all that, digging over the past like week or two, digging into the Finger Lakes wine scene and then just the Finger Lakes region in general and seeing all that exists out there in food and beverage that are, especially with wine and ciders and the people that are like hyper focused. It's insane.
On the east side, I got to give this guy a shout out. At the east side of Seneca Lake, Damiani has a tasting room. It's like right in the center. There's a guy with a food truck. He does Hawaiian Mexican food. He's a killer mole.
Really?
It's insane. And
that's cool.
I'd gone 2 years without being there, and he was there
Oh, wow.
Like, again, after like not seeing him for 2 years,
Yeah.
is amazing.
Huh.
If you're ever over there, you have to check him out.
Yeah,
He's
definitely.
great.
Yeah.
But I spend a lot of time over there. Like
Okay.
in the summers. It's so beautiful.
In the Finger Lakes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. It's just, it really is interesting to me. I guess I am starting to see a little bit of like, I messaged one winery that I thought was kind of new, and then somebody responded to me that's part of this. It's like part of this massive wine conglomerate that's like international. I was like, oh, okay. Even though the one brand I reached out to that's like, they're really, really new in the Finger Lakes and they look hyper local. And I got that and I was like, oh, that's interesting. I guess maybe I wonder how prevalent that is of like big wine companies that own some of these smaller vineyards that are in the Finger Lakes. But anyways, just digging through it, I'm just astounded at how many of them there are.
Yes.
And then I'm trying to kind of make the connection between like so many breweries I know in our area that are struggling like crazy over the last year or two. And then I'm trying to make that connection between them and like these small wineries. Because it's like, all right, at least in Syracuse, yeah, we've got too many breweries, but at least they've got, 200,000 people to pull from, right, in our immediate area. What do you have out in the Finger Lakes? If you're a random winery on Seneca, yeah, I guess tourism, but how long is that going to carry you?
Yeah, I mean, they distribute quite a bit, though, to the local liquor stores around here. But you only see, like, maybe 10 of those people. Like HJ Weimer, you see Dr. Frank's all the time. Three Brothers. Yeah. And they have their cider line that they do that you see around here quite a bit. But yeah, all those little small. I don't know how wineries survive. Period.
Right.
It's like your crops. If you just want to start, just getting your field started, that's 10, 15 years.
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing the rest of that time? I don't understand it. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
But that's why I want Keenan still around.
I know. Yeah. Where did he go? Did he go to Seattle?
California. He's in San Francisco doing the beverage programs for Chef.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I forget Lucas from Salt City, who was one of Keenan's disciples. Lucas moved to Sweden or the Netherlands or something like that. Yeah. Those two looked like they could almost be twins. And Lucas was I believe Lucas was one of Keenan's disciples, in spirits and all that. It is. It's even in cocktails, we do have some interesting cocktails. Like Salt City Bar, I think, still does a pretty good job. You all obviously still do a good job. Is Rich still kind of taking the charge with behind the bar?
He is, yeah. And we talk to Keenan on a regular basis. He sends us ridiculous ideas from time to time. Send us a mushroom toast cocktail that we tried out. Possibly we didn't execute it correctly, but it was, I don't think some of them are going to try.
I have a bottle of his Amaro still over there.
Yeah. Nice. But yeah, it's something that Rich has been able to, I think, engage a little bit more since me coming back, because just releases a little cognitive load for him to have the kitchen taken care of and everything. So.
Yeah, for sure. I feel so bad. I haven't been to Eden it's been like a year and a half.
Yeah.
You want more, by the way?
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. But it's hard. Like doing what you do, you have to explore so many other things because you have to provide some sort of sense of novelty, right, to your channel.
Yeah, and the challenge is that my channel has turned into burgers and tacos and sandwiches, and it hasn't turned into anything nice. That's kind of why I started the Thirsty Neighbor thing, was because I kept trying to do cocktail content a little bit on the local channel and just would not get any views.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, well maybe... And even if I do a video where it's not me on camera eating food, it doesn't really take off. So I was like, all right, maybe I've just turned the channel into, hey, here I am eating another burger. Here I am eating another taco.
What do you feel has driven that? Is it viewer driven? These are the videos that get the best responses, or is it just what you've been engaging?
It's definitely I'm still, full on looking at the marketing side of things of how many views can I get? So I'm looking at every post that I make, I'm thinking to myself, I'm actively staring at the views constantly throughout the day, throughout the next day or two. And Instagram has changed, and so has Facebook, and even YouTube. I've got a video my like 5 things I ate in Rochester. Those or 5 things I ate in whatever city. Those videos get the most views of all my stuff. They get the most hate of all my stuff. But I've got a video right now on YouTube that's like, when I went to bed last night, it had 11,000 views. This morning it had almost 20,000 views. And the video is like 2 weeks old. So I'm constantly looking at those videos and saying, all right, what's getting attention? What do I want to do more of? Because while I do, my focus for the social channel for when I make content is, all right, what restaurant do I want to talk about?
Yeah.
What's a restaurant that I think could use help from a post? Because whether it's 5 people or it's 500 people, some amount of people show up when I'm at a restaurant when I make a post. So I'm like, all right, like, what am I curious about? What restaurant could use help? What dish do I think is going to look good on camera? What can I go film that I can go film quickly, or I have somebody that I hire to come hold a camera for me. So, whatever the case is. So I'm kind of looking at all that stuff. And then when I post it, when I'm editing the video, I'm like, all right, how do I need to edit this to make sure it's not wasting time? People are hopefully going to stay engaged, watch it, all that kind of stuff. So, and then if I post a video that it just tanks, it doesn't get a lot of views, I'm like, all right, is it the subject? Is it just people don't give a shit about this type of food? Yeah. If I come to Eden, what am I going to do? Like,
that's what I was going to say. Is it hard to do short form content for something a little
nicer?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was going to go make a video at Eden, I would have to be a larger production. Not like a large production, but I couldn't just bring my tripod, put it on a table and be like, I'm here at Eden eating the chicken. Right. People aren't really going to give a shit about that. I would have to do some sort of like a, hipstery sort of a, shot, like showing the fire, the flame for like 2 seconds. And then, 2 seconds of the front, right. All that kind of stuff. Like, one of the best videos I feel like I've made in the last 2 years was, and I still haven't even edited the one with you of cooking last year and connecting from the farm, but just that video I made of the farm from, hillside last year, that's one of the better quality videos I feel like I've made in the last 2 years as a content creator. And that video got no fucking views. I mean, no fucking, 4,000 views. And that's one of the best things I've made.
Yep.
Artistically, I'm like, fuck, this is good.
Yeah.
I mean, I was like,
patting yourself on the back.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I spent like 3 days just editing that thing and color grading it and adding in background noises of like cows and chickens to make it real.
A piece of art.
And wind blow. I mean, that took me a lot of time and effort, and like not that many people watched it.
That's gotta hurt.
It does. It does and it doesn't. Like, just to a certain extent. Like, I posted a video yesterday at 9 a.m. knowing it wasn't going to get views.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, if I just had this video ready to go at 7 a.m., it would have done better.
Yeah.
And I think that's just maybe my mentality. But then I'm like, all right, but it's out there. I posted it. I got another video out today. I'm good. It's just kind of like, it's like if you're going to like the casino to play blackjack, like at some point you have to be happy with the fact that you won $50.
Yeah.
And that you didn't just, hit the jackpot. Right.
Yep.
So that's
just life advice. But.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I look at some of my posts. It's like, all right, that didn't get as many views as I wanted. That is kind of defeating. But at the end of the day, I made $50.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make any money, so I just kind of look at it like that.
It's hard to capture, like, so with the burger, like if you're making a burger video or whatever, like that's the experience, right? It's all consolidated in that small thing.
Yeah.
But like a place with us, the entire experience is the entire experience.
Right.
And so you have to find a way to somehow within 30 seconds or so capture every element. It's like, it's not possible.
I know. I mean, even like it's the 60 seconds if I want to try and keep my life simple and do one video that's not re-edited, but one video I can post across every platform, I have 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised at how fast that time goes.
Yeah.
When I'm just standing outside of a restaurant talking about a cheeseburger, I mean, how quickly 60 seconds is gone.
Yeah.
And I mean, it really is. There's people that do it, and I have to imagine like some of the bigger creators that've got millions of followers or hundreds of thousands, that they're going to restaurants and saying like, all right, here's the video that's going to work. Let's coordinate the food. Like, I need you to like bring me the food so it looks like this, and all that kind of stuff, in order for it to really slap and do well on camera. And that they're just not like, all right, you just bring it out and I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But so there's some times where I'm like trying to think that way. But yeah, if I was gonna when I make another video to post about Eden, it's got to be like a feature, because like if I just post a picture of like me standing outside of Buried Acorn eating their Italian beef, like, okay, it might get views. It might not, but it might get views. If I post a video of Tim and Crystal, the owners, standing on camera talking about like, hey, here at Buried Acorn, and then it cuts to like B-roll, sequences of them doing stuff and making beer and canning and the inside and the outside, that will also do well. If I just post a picture of like the B-roll sequence with me doing voiceover, that's never going to do well. So I just like, it's trying to figure that kind of stuff out. I used to go out to eat. My wife and I would go out to eat, and I would always have sometimes I would bring a camera. Most of the time I would just have my iPhone and just take pictures, and that was my content. I would just create that way. But nowadays you can't do that.
Now you got a young one.
Yeah, right. Well, now I have a young one, so we don't go out like...
You don't have a life anymore.
We don't have a life,
You gave that up.
Yeah. I feel bad because it's like some of these spots, but like I told my wife 2 weeks ago, I was like, hey... So I haven't been to Eden forever. I have to get to Eden to go to dinner there, and at least just to show my face.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I'm going to go right when they open. So I'll be home before bedtime. Do you want me to go, or do you want to, we'll try and find a babysitter and you can come with me? She's like, I'm coming with you.
Oh, nice.
So now we just have to figure out the day that we're going to do that.
Absolutely.
And show up like right at open.
Yeah. That's the best time.
Yeah.
It's the best time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not busy.
You guys like dessert?
Yeah, we do,
Dessert
for sure.
people?
Yeah, big dessert
lemon
people.
tart now that I'm biased towards.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'll send you one.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's just I haven't been to Eden in forever, and we haven't been out to like a nice restaurant in forever. My wife and I. I mean, you know what it's like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So do you have the one, or you have?
We have two.
You have two.
We have two.
Okay.
Yeah, we had our first son right before we moved to New York. I really wanted a daughter. So I was like, let's try a second one. And our first child was so perfect.
Yeah.
Tricked us into thinking we were good parents. So we had the second one, and then we just sent ourselves straight to hell. we got a manifestation of entropy that came out. And man, going from 1 to 2 is not additive. It is like by factors of like 12. It's so crazy.
That's hilarious.
I always... Anytime someone's thinking about having their second child, I'm like, really think about it.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Really think
What's
about it.
What's the age difference?
They're about 3 years apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my son will be a senior in high school when my other son's a freshman.
Yeah.
So he'll be telling him the whole time, wait till my little brother gets here.
Yeah.
That's kind of like what they're like.
That's funny.
But
yeah,
it's been a ride. My wife's been incredible. We moved away from all of our family.
Yeah.
And so it was us stranded on an island, and her trying to navigate 2 children and
intense.
2 natural births. Like I
Wow.
couldn't do that.
Yeah.
Like, no way.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But all while she's been doing that, she was teaching herself photography at home with the kids, and
cool.
We have amazing photos of them growing up and everything.
Yeah.
That, I struggle to even look at. It just sends me into this downward spiral of mortality. And dude.
Yeah.
I've never become more introspective. I'm a pretty introspective person, but
yeah,
you think about life every day.
I know.
It's a constant reminder. You have a physical reminder of how fast time is going.
Yeah.
Now you don't get to just dismiss a year.
I know.
It's crazy.
It's insane. I was just saying to my wife, we were talking about that yesterday. I was like, there's going to come a day he's not going to want to, snuggle with us and watch TV, and we're not going to be able to hold him, you know. So it's just, and even this morning I was folding the laundry, and I was like, we have a child who wears shirts that are this small. It's nuts.
And then you're going to say, we have a child that wears shirts that are this big. Like, where did it go?
Yeah. It's our plan is just to have Anthony, just the one. I feel kind of guilty about that because I'm one of four and I'm the youngest, and my parents are, alive and healthy still, they're in their mid 70s, but I know the things that like we've had to deal with my parents of like health, just even minor health issues over the years. And I could not imagine having to go through that without a sibling, to rely on to call and like help and, even just emotional support. So in my head, I'm thinking to myself, dear God, I hope he creates the best friends early on in life or gets married really early to a great person. So that way, when we're old and dying, he has someone to rely on, because I couldn't imagine going through that stuff alone.
Well, I can say as a personal experience, I am an only child.
Oh, really?
I loved the shit out of it.
Really?
It was awesome.
That's interesting.
It was awesome. I mean, usually what you find, well, for me, I guess I should say not usually, this is so common. In my experience, I basically was pseudo-adopted into all my friends' like families.
Okay.
And like their siblings were my siblings, etc. And like, you get all the resources, right? You become a raging narcissist, but like it was awesome. I loved it. Like I would have loved to have a sibling, and it's really incredible to watch the relationship that's forming between my two sons and everything. Yeah, and I'm happy I get to vicariously like experience it. But dude, it killed. I loved being an only child. I just went to my cousin's wedding this past weekend. Same birthday as me.
Oh, really?
As well, but she was also an only child, and my aunt had actually asked me a little bit after she was born how I felt of experiencing being an only child, and I told her I loved it, and you guys should just stay with her.
That's pretty funny.
And they raised an amazing person and seemed to have a great life ahead of her. So.
Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. Well, listen, man, thank you so much for coming in. It was a great time.
Dude, it was a pleasure. I love this. I love listening to this podcast. It's the only way I really ever connect with like the local scene. It's how I learn everything. I was like, I'm terrible at meeting people, on a regular basis. So like your podcast has really been awesome for facilitating me even learning what's going on in this area and learning the people that are involved and responsible for the things that like I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Well, everybody who's listening, get out to Eden in downtown Syracuse and check them out.
Yeah.
Best restaurant in Syracuse.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Awesome. Thank you.